So, Anthony, do you want to start by giving us a quick introduction of where you work now, where were you working before, and that's going to open a gateway of questions for you. So go for it.
Yeah, sure. Well, currently I work at Meta, previously Facebook. I joined in August of last year, so it's been about 8 months for me so far. Prior to that, I was at like maybe like small, medium-sized company in Boston, where I'm located, and that was mainly in like the auto insurance, towing software space. And before that, I was just in a lot of different like startup companies, small companies, in like the Boston and New York area. And I've been a software engineer for about like 8 years now. So it's been a lot of different companies, but Meta is my first, I guess, like large company that I've worked for, like the FAANG level company.
All right. So what gave you that initial realization or that push to aspire for a FAANG company?
I think like I have a few friends that have worked in like Google, Amazon, Facebook for a long time, and just talking to them about it, just hearing their experiences. Before, it didn't really seem that appealing for me, but I guess like maybe just as I've gotten older, just a bit more security, and just wanted to get that experience working in a large scale, like distributed system, with a lot of employees, a lot of different products going on, and just seeing how that size of a company operated. Just for the longest time, I was working in a small company, small team, single focus product. So I guess like for after a while, I got that itch to like see what the other side of the fence looked like.
Yeah. So what was your role previously, and then what's your role right now at Meta? When we were working with the startups, what was your role like there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I started off as just like a regular software engineer, moved on to like senior software engineer after a time, and then like project lead, team lead. At Meta, everyone is just like a software engineer. You do have like different leveling, but it just like it's pretty standard. Like there's no senior software engineers. Everyone is just a software engineer. Some people are team leads, and then you move on to like engineering manager from there.
All right. So how did when you were trying to figure out how to get into a FAANG, how soon or how late did you realize that the selection process, the interview process at these companies is tough?
I guess like what happened was 1 year, I think I had gotten a referral to Google from my friend, and I didn't really know how to prepare for it. So I just thought I bombed it really bad. I bombed my onsite just really bad. I was just so like embarrassed afterwards. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. It's just so difficult. So the second time, like a year after, is when I started thinking like maybe I'll try again when I have a bit more experience. And then I started looking around for like maybe prep courses or online courses that I could do. And that's where I think I found IK. And it seemed like the most interesting program for me.
Okay, so let's take a step back. So when you were applying for, your friend referred you to Google, right? Did you apply for any other top tier 1 companies at that point, or was it only that you applied for Google and then you realized that you're not doing well at the interview process?
It was just Google. Like we just met up, and then he was like, "Hey, I can refer you." I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." I didn't really prepare much. I didn't know what leak code was back then, so it was just terrible. Like I think I maybe like read some of the prep materials the recruiter sent over, but obviously that's not enough to prepare you for all the different types of questions you could get at an onsite.
All right. So before you tried IK, what were the few different tools or platforms, courses that you tried taking, if any?
Nothing really. I mean, I think I tried to read like Cracking the Coding Interview, but I think I got like halfway through and didn't remember much. So I was like, this is not the way that I can study for these interviews. So I started looking online for other things. I found leak code, started doing some problems, but I forget where it is where I found IK from. Maybe I saw like an ad on Blind or something like that. But once I saw it and looked through the course materials, it seemed like the best fit for me.
All right, that's great. So according to you, what are some of the best parts of the program? Whether it's the live classes, it's the foundational material, it's the mock interviews, what really helped you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was all of that. Like, I changed into, so I didn't study computer science in school. So, I went through a boot camp to start my journey as a software engineer. So I guess like the curriculum appealed to me, like having that structured learning, having like the those weekend classes where it's like all day, like it was just something very familiar to me because during like the coding boot camps, I went through something similar. So just being back in that setting and having like all that material ready for me, and then also like having the mocks to practice to get you ready and get you in the mindset of like interviewing at the companies was also really helpful.
So how many mocks did you take, just out of curiosity? Do you remember?
I think I used up almost all of my mocks. I think I probably did 10.
Wow. And any experience of your mock interviews that you would like to share with us?
I mean,
or maybe how did you
vary.
go from being good to really great?
I think just a lot of practice and like practicing between mocks as well too. Like obviously the first ones are really rough. You're not used to the setting. You're not used to interviewing and like answering questions and solving problems in like 45 minutes. So I think just practicing, listening to the feedback and like practicing that before my next mock really helped a lot. And then just practicing on your own too. Just trying to get used to the process, get used to the problems as much as possible.
So when you were taking the course, when you were in the IK program, were you also working somewhere, or were you completely dedicated to interview prep?
Yeah, I was also working my full-time job and just doing IK work on the nights and weekends for the most part. I think like a week before my like FAANG interviews, I took a week off of work just to really, have like sort of like mentally reset, but also like just so I don't have anything to worry about at work. I can just relax and focus on interviewing and studying for that time.
So, I mean, like if you tell me today that, I need to work and I need to study, it's going to be very difficult. So how did you get your mind in the right place and, ensure to give that commitment? It's difficult, right? Because as we age, it gets more difficult to study as well.
Right. And and I had one friend who was in the cohort before me. So, and he had left his job to focus on studying full time. So we were just talking to each other. I would just talk to him about it and just like get his thoughts and like try to find ways to sort of optimize what I would study for.
So a friend
but yeah, I mean, it was definitely difficult, and talking to going to like the open office hours and just talking to people and just realizing like, like I still need to put in the time to study, but just figuring out like not feeling too rushed, like even though even after like the whole live classes were over, I still spent, quite a while like studying on my own and keeping up with the material, and like going through the material again as well, just to make sure I understood everything. So it really depends. I feel like even some people who like quit their jobs to study full time, they still need time to focus on that after the live classes too. So I just kept going until like I was like finally felt like sort of comfortable in those settings.
All right. So if you had to give the current students, the next batch of students, some advice on how to make the most out of IK, how to leverage each and every aspect of the program, let's start with live classes. So what's your go-to tip there? How do I get the best out of IK's live classes?
I mean, definitely attend them. I know it's like it can feel like a lot because it's a weekend and it kind of takes up the whole day. But the information is just really valuable. I would just make sure to take notes and ask questions if I didn't understand something. And it's just really valuable to have the recordings after, because you can always go back and watch and remember like certain parts that you maybe didn't feel like super comfortable with. So being in that setting just having the recording and going through it again really helps. I feel like if you just attend the class but don't rewatch the recording or don't really rewatch lectures, you're not really soaking everything in, just because there's so much information. It takes time to really absorb everything. All
right. Coming to the practice problems or the tests, the assessments, all of that bit. What's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, it's great practice, especially like on top of lead code after, because like if you're doing lead code problems too, it becomes like a grind after. But doing the IK practice problems are a good change of pace, and also exposes you to like I feel like more difficult problems that forces you to think and like really apply what you learn in the course structure. So I feel like doing the IK problems is really great to prepare to. And I know some people who who like just do the IK practice problems and don't do any leak code and they do fine. So I guess it depends on the student.
All right. So with your one-on-one sessions, right, with mentors, with career coaches, let's do the technical side first. How can you make the most of the time that you get with a mentor when it's there are a few sessions, and what are the right questions to ask? How do you get the best out of the mentor assigned to you?
Yeah, I think like the best thing is just coming prepared to the meetings, like having things that you are confused with that you need help with. I think like for me, after a while, I realized like it's not just like knowing how to solve one problem is not ideal. It's just it's learning how to apply like the problem solving frameworks and understanding like how to apply different different patterns to problems is much more effective than just like understanding how one problem is solved, because the chances of you getting a similar problem in a real life interview is pretty low. So understanding like how to solve problems versus just the solution to a problem is better, as I found.
And how well did IK help you in that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have learned it on my own. So
I just had to get you to say it. All right. So so overall, okay, we've done live classes, we've done practice questions, and we've done one-on-one sessions. Is there any other advice that you would like to give our students on interview prep with IK, interview prep in general? How do you stay motivated? I know you said you had a friend and you had other people to go talk to. Maybe a few people don't have that and you have to look for motivation within. So what is your one-on-one advice on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's also important to realize, interview fatigue is a real thing. So don't stress yourself out. Don't burn yourself out. It's still like, it's like anything. You have to sort of try to do it in moderation. I think like if you don't have like friends going through the same process, I mean, you do get to talk to your cohort. So like finding people in your cohort, everyone's going through the same thing. So everyone's in this course trying to land a job at one of these large companies or another company, but just getting to know your cohort, the people in your cohort, and finding people to study with, I think would be great.
So did you do this? Did you study with IK pre-COVID or during COVID?
It was during COVID.
It was during COVID.
Wait. Yes. Yeah. During COVID.
So there was this whole social distancing thing happening. You cannot go meet people. So how did you virtually manage to interact with people in your cohort?
They actually organized some Zoom meetings and things like that, and I would join once in a while. Also, there were like other communities, like I think someone made like a cross cohort Discord, and I joined that and met some people in there. Yeah, I mean, I found people to like do mocks with and just practice with them once in a while.
All right. Now, coming to the $1 million question, how many attempts did it take you to get into Meta?
How many attempts? I mean, luckily this was my first attempt.
Okay, that's
so that was great. But I mean, I did like bomb a lot of other interviews prior to Meta. So I had a schedule where I was interviewing with like tier 2 companies and like practicing like other companies before I went to Meta. So by the time I interviewed at like Facebook, Amazon, Google, I felt pretty ready at that point.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with each and every round that you went through at Meta? What kept you going? One round's done, checkbox, you tick mark that off, and then you have to move to the next one. So if you can tell us some experiences in these rounds or anything that kept you going.
Yeah, I mean, I just really relied on like the course material and just trying to remember like, okay, we learned and just trying to keep everything that we learned like in my head and like just practice problems that were like, that would let me use those patterns. So I just practiced problems from different categories on LeetCode and on IK and just try to remember, it's more about the pattern, less about the solution to problems. So yeah, I mean, at Meta, it was like during the phone screen, you solve 2 problems. I think it was like 1 easy, 1 medium, sort of like difficulty level. I think one was like a prefix sum solution. One was like a stack solution. So luckily I practiced those recently, and it just worked out that way. During the on-site rounds, pretty similar, just sort of like in the medium difficulty range. I think I lucked out. I know some people might get like a hard question once in a while, but it luckily didn't happen to me. So I felt like every problem was like I could reason through and like solve every problem that I got.
All right. So I think you're giving yourself very less credit because you say you didn't really practice much or you got lucky, but I think you did practice a lot. So
I mean, I did practice a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah. So then tell us, how many hours would you put in a week, and how did that change? Because sometimes initially you're putting in, like, say, 10 hours a week. I don't know. I'm just giving a number out of my head. And then you
I think like most weekends, most nights.
Like the whole weekend. So say on a Saturday, how many hours would you spend studying?
I mean, you have the whole class, so that's like 6 hours or whatever already, and then maybe like take a break and then a few more hours after that, just to practice. But it was difficult because I had a lot to learn as well. Like I know some people have an easier time if they've maybe studied computer science or something like that. Like there are some people I mock that it's like their first mock, but they just for some reason can solve all these problems. And for me, I was not at that stage when I first started, so it took a while to get there.
So as you continued with the program in the course, did you start putting in more hours, or when you got closer to your interview dates, were your hours increasing or were they reducing because you had already studied enough before?
I think they were reducing as I started interviewing, because there was just less time because I had to do these on-sites. So, and those are like 4 to 5 hours too. So definitely had less time. But by that point, once I started the interview cycle, I felt like I'd studied enough, and that's why I started doing all the interviews. Like if I didn't feel ready to do interviews, I would have just pushed them back. But by the time that I did the interviews, I was feeling pretty ready for that.
All right. So how is life at Meta? If you have to, tell, I think a lot of our students would love to hear how is life at Meta, because there's only so much you can read online, and there's a lot that you can hear from someone who's working there.
I think it's great. Like, I think the work-life balance is good. There's not too much pressure or anything like that. I mean, that's me coming from, startups and smaller companies. So you can take that with a grain of salt. But for me, like, I really enjoy the team I'm working with. And I mean, it's definitely been interesting because it was during COVID as well. So I think they're only starting to go back in the office later this month or next month. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing what that experience is like. But so far, like onboarding and everything during like just all virtual has been fine. All right.
What are some of the perks that you have there?
I mean, if you go to the office, there's food, of course, and snacks. But I mean, they you have like a wellness reimbursement fee, so you can use that to. I know people have bought like Pelotons and things like that. So, and then you can also have like a small office, like home office stipend. Although that might be ending because of the return to office, but I mean, like. I think what I really appreciate is just like things that I didn't have at like smaller companies, which is like really great health insurance, all that stuff is taken care of for you. So a lot of your focus can really just go on, your job and your work as opposed to other things.
So do you prefer working remotely, or do you like the whole office construct?
I like the hybrid approach, which is like, I can go in a couple days a week and then work from home a couple days a week. So, because being in the office is nice, and I have missed that. So, like seeing your teammates and working in person, I feel like does have a little bit different energy than just working remotely in your home office.
So there are so many ambitious people at the FAANG. They have a lot of years of experience and so much knowledge. Quite often, our students, we also get a few students who join the program who just want to upskill. They just want to brush up their knowledge. They want to be more relevant because the competition is so high at these companies.
Right.
So, how do you manage, to keep learning and to always stay on the top? What are your future plans? More like how do you ensure that your learning journey doesn't stop?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on what your goals are. Like for me, I'm very interested in new technologies and new things that come out. I think that's one of the reasons why I chose Meta, is because I felt like I could learn a lot at the company,
Mm-hmm.
and from the people that worked here. So it's just for me, like I've always been interested in learning new things, and as new things come out, I always want to try to test them out. So it's just like in my personality, I guess, to learn new things. But yeah, I mean, depending on the goals, I mean, I have some friends at Google who just are very, very chill and want to stay at their
Yeah.
level. They don't really aspire to go to much. So it just depends on your goals, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So how do you like, make sure, what are the few resources that you can use to study while you're already working at a FAANG, say a Facebook or Google, and maybe work is crazy there, maybe it isn't, but you have to keep putting in time.
Right,
So,
right.
so and at that point, you don't have a lot of, you're already earning the bucks, and you just want to like learn more. So, what are the few things people can do? Where can they go to learn from all of that?
Like, you mean just like technology wise, or like anything?
Yeah, anything, technology wise.
I mean, there's so many great like news sources or discords you can join. I mean, for me, I always look at like the Hacker News, and also like certain discords that are focused on like React or like any front end frameworks that I'm interested in or something like that. And I like going to like virtual meetups or maybe virtual conferences to learn more about certain technologies. So for me, that's where I usually go to like get my fill on like what's happening, what's current, and what's coming out.
Nice. So you're also teaching with us with IK. Yes. So how did that come about?
I think I just got an email one day from someone at IK looking for mock interviewers, and I thought I could give it a shot and see what it's like. I mean, that's also a great way to like keep up to date with, or like keep yourself sort of fresh and knowledgeable in like data structures and algorithms and system design. So when I saw the opportunity, I just responded, be like, I'll give it a shot, and then it just worked out. So yeah, so now I do that as well.